for this talk, we will focus on just faculty evaluation. So my first question here is to the audience, it's a poll. What do you think? Should the faculty be evaluated at all? I know there's someone, I think Simona spoke earlier about medical students, but what do the others think? You can use the, I think, Eduardo, there's a poll here. Yes,
Yeah.
no, maybe.
Yes, it's up and they're answering.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Finish the poll, share results.
Oh,
And
all right. So that 100% everybody agrees that yes, the faculty should be evaluated. Great. So it brings me to the next question. How do you evaluate your faculty now? At least the ones that answered that yes, you can use the Q&A or you can unmute and speak. Like I said, I know Simona talked about medical students evaluating faculty. And I can request Simona to expand a little bit about how exactly is this faculty evaluation done by the medical students. I know you mentioned it is anonymous, but is it through a resident management system, online, written? How is it annual? Can you expand? Or anybody else can
Yes.
speak in the as well? Yeah.
Yes, thank you. So, of course, it is not mandatory. The system cannot force the students to evaluate the teachers, but they encourage them to do so. So they enter a platform and there is a very standardized questionnaire and they have to give the answers there. And those questions refer to the quality of the material which is presented during the lectures or the practical activities. It's a standardized questionnaire with many items and 4 levels, 4 grades, 1 to 4, according to the level of the. And it is done biannually. Or actually at the end of each module, immediately after finishing a certain module, the students are encouraged to make this evaluation. And every person, every member of the staff has access to these evaluations twice a year.
Okay.
And also there is a section for written answers, like what would you improve, what was wrong, what did you like, what didn't you like,
right?
So everyone is aware.
And how that's an excellent tool, but how interested are the residents, I mean the medical students, in completing it? How popular is it? Because it's not mandatory.
Many of them, of course, not the majority of them is doing so.
Oh, okay. All right.
Because and there is no system to force them to do this evaluation. But it's my opinion that if they really want to tell something, they do it. So me personally, at the end of a module, I encourage them to do it, because I tell them it's useful for the next generations and it's used for us to improve ourselves with no consequences on their grades or something, because some of them may have concerns that this might have repercussions on their professional evaluation and so on. Even if it's anonymous, there is always the thought that it might not be so anonymous.
Absolutely. Great answer, Simona. Great sharing of experience. And that brings me to my next question. Why do you think faculty evaluation by the resident is not popular or common? And I think you already answered that. And that the residents are concerned that it will have repercussions because anonymity may not be true anonymity. I agree with that. Any other difficulty the residents have expressed why they are not keen, or they have not, and extending this to the residents from the medical students, what do you anticipate will be the problem to do it? Because residents usually are a much smaller number than medical students. What do you anticipate will be the difficulty if you now, take it to the residents and maybe even make it mandatory as part of program evaluation? What do you anticipate?
Well, for the residents, you mean? I was not saying.
Yes.
I think that with the residents, the relationship is somewhat different as compared to the students, to the medical students. You are more closer to them,
Right.
and if you promote certain atmosphere of confidence,
Yes.
and then and you look at the resident like to your partner.
Right. Excellent.
Then they would be more confined, they would be more confident to be true, to be
Excellent.
honest, to be honest. Of course, it depends a lot on the profile of the teacher, of the
Yes.
if it's a revengeful person, of course, no resident would tell the truth.
That's true.
But if it's
Yes.
a balanced person, and if the residents, they feel if you are prone to help them and to help them
Yes.
grow, they
Yes.
feel, you don't have to express it in words. They
Ex-
feel
eh,
that you are there for them, and they will help you. They will be true. I have
Yes.
experienced it.
I like the thought that you should think of them as a partner rather than a hierarchical system, which is quite common here in India. So thank you for that answer. Anybody else has any comments? Thank you, Simona. Anybody else has anything else to add? Is there anything in the Q&A, because I can't really see that here?
No,
No.
not
Okay. Well,
to the Q&A.
Meena, if you allow me, I could
Please.
comment about
please, Horia. Yes.
about evaluation of the faculty, because actually we don't have an evaluation of the faculty for the residency system. So there is not an institution to evaluate the faculty. There is not a method of feedback in a specific form from residents to the faculty. There are not specific tests given by the chief of the clinic to the junior faculty in order to evaluate them, how they are perform regarding the residents. But even if we don't have this kind of standardization regarding evaluation, we are evaluating our juniors and our staff using probably too subjective perception, how they connect with the residents, how their residents are performing regarding clinical and surgical skills and so on.
Okay.
Your talk is very important because we have to understand that we need to have a different kind of setting regarding evaluation of the faculty, because otherwise there are a lot of centers, a lot of members of the faculty, and we have to help them to have a proper training and to increase to raise the bar for all the faculty members.
Yes. So absolutely right on. I think like Carl has been saying, this is just the beginning. And I think at after the 2-day webinars, this is part of the work that hopefully the Ophthalmology Foundation will help the Romanian teachers by developing a system that is acceptable to all for faculty evaluation. But excellent points, Horia.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I was looking at, if this has been, reported everywhere elsewhere about why residents are hesitant. And I found this study from Pakistan, which looked at why faculty evaluations are not popular. The challenges reported by the residents are that they had even difficulty accessing the questionnaire, the software due to network issues at home. They did feel scared of invasion of confidentiality, something, the ground that we just covered. They perceive tit for tat, revengeful, as Simona elegantly said. And sometimes they worry that the feedback that they give honestly may not even actually reach the faculty. And the faculty feel that there is a bias, that the calculations are imprecise. They feel that the evaluation sometimes undermines the faculty's professional growth. So really the goal of my talk is to describe various aspects of evaluation of faculty in a training program. And the objectives are describe various methods to evaluate faculty, list the components of the instruments used. And when I say instruments, I'm talking of a survey or a questionnaire. Explain the process, timing, and outcomes. So we all agree that it's important to evaluate the faculty, but let us just review. Because this has tremendous influence on the educational environment of a training program. It assists the faculty and the program administration to identify and encourage not just gaps, but excellence in education. It also helps in developing the trainees to hopefully become future educators. It can guide the faculty to become effective educators as well. Now, who should evaluate the faculty? We've been talking a little bit about it. Is it the medical students, the residents? Is it the peers, the other faculty? And Horia just talked about senior faculty evaluating the juniors in a sort of a subjective way. Should the department chair be doing? I mean, they're pretty busy as it is. Or should you take the patients, like a 360-degree feedback from the patients? So let's talk about a few caveats. Any evaluation instrument, questionnaire, survey that's used to assessing teaching quality of faculty, first of all, should be fair, accurate, and reliable. So, I was wondering, why not just take questionnaires from the graduate education? We have so many graduate programs, master's programs, non-medical. Why not just take those questionnaires and use it for our faculty? But if you think about it, medical education is different because we have very restricted choice of courses, mandatory courses that we have to finish, unique teaching methods, like bedside teaching, problem-based learning, which complement the didactic classroom teaching. So when you look at this a little more deeply, when you talk of teaching quality, we're talking of 4 dimensions. That is structural, procedural, teacher characteristics, and what is the outcome of all the teaching activities. And we look at this in a little bit more detail. What do you mean by structural? So your instrument should be able to evaluate how does the teacher make a good physical environment available? What are the teaching materials that are used? How much are they invested in the curriculum design? What about procedural? How is the teacher-student interaction? How is the teaching, learning atmosphere? Are they encouraging of you to ask questions? And the third is a little bit more about the teacher characteristic itself. How are their teaching skills? How is the level of preparation? How is the enthusiasm for teaching as perceived by the students? Your instrument should be able to capture some of this. And finally, I thought this was very interesting. Bloomberg published this on outcomes of teaching, which is educational outcome as the development of competencies for independent lifelong learning. Does your faculty, does your teacher do this? Do they develop competencies for independent lifelong learning in the students? Clinical career outcomes, which means competencies relevant for the medical profession. How much do they contribute, promote to this? And finally, environmental outcomes. That is the development of professional attitudes towards teaching itself, which means passing on these skills as an educator, a teacher, on to younger colleagues. Okay, so moving on to really what do we have? What instruments are out there? So there is a whole variety. And if you see here is the list or the name of the instrument, and then you can see the number of items that is there in the questionnaire and the scale that is used. Is it a 5-point or a 4-point or a 7-point, etc.? I'm going to just pause here and ask Carl to comment about this because he's here with us and it would be only appropriate. So I took a couple of examples of how faculty evaluation happens in several programs. And Carl, would you be able to comment on yours?
Sure. So this is actually something that we did for many years. And what you're seeing here is the title, the Resident Rating of Clinical Faculty Performance. And it's all of these little hash marks are the anonymous surveys that were returned in the score. So you can see that this was my evaluation in 2011 and for professionalism. And the residents are asked, you know, where on this scale is the teacher in these various aspects of these three? And this is not the whole thing. These were just three. I think there were 7 different aspects, or 6 different aspects. Sorry, these are 3 of them. And then the secretary who gets all the data collated them and then created an average score. And then this was the part of just the resident can add in their comments. So these are all of the comments collated by the secretary. What are the individual strengths? What are the individual weaknesses? For me, it was gone a lot. It's because I traveled too much probably. And then other comments that the residents made. So what I did as chairman, because we got those scores, and you saw my scores. My scores were all, you know, the averages were 9.5. And the point was that in general, if we could go back to that sheet, Nina, the 2 slides previous. Yeah, I mean, in general, when you give a resident a scale from 1 to 10, all the scores are going to probably be on this half. Very unusual that residents would give faculty scores down here somewhere. So the problem is that the scores are kind of, inflated isn't the right word, but the faculty really, some of the faculty, the poorer faculty, they would have an average score of like 8 and think, wow, I'm an 8, that's so great. But everybody else had 9 or 9.5 or 8.5. So what I did as chairman was I took all those average scores and I created a bar graph. So this is the average for the whole form. And this is faculty member number 1. This is faculty member number 2. And then we had at one point, I think 25 faculty members. And so everyone would get this graph, but each individual would only be told, you're number 3 or you're number 23. And so they have a feeling where they stand. And maybe that average score of 8 makes them the worst. Maybe it makes them in the middle. And every year, as chairman, I would go over this graph with them and say, well, you're doing either well or not. And every year, faculty, young and old, and sometimes the older faculty surprisingly would say, hey, I thought I was doing really well, but I don't want to be number 15. I want to be in the top 10 or the top whatever. How do I get better? How do I get better? And then I'd actually go back to the residents and say, hey, listen, residents, we used your information. We gave feedback to the faculty about it. And this faculty member wants to know more specifics. What can they do from the resident perspective to be a better teacher? And that's how we gave the faculty the feedback.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Carl. So in our program in Chennai, and this is what we did. So initially, I encouraged the residents, and our residents and fellows number rather large, around, all put together about 100 trainees at any given time. So anonymity was fairly possible. But I made them write open-ended remarks and put it in a box and without their names and collated it. And that really opened a Pandora's box. And it was nobody was happy with that method. So we next adopted a clinical questionnaire. So Maastricht Clinical Teaching Questionnaire, which is what I will share with you. So this was published in 2010. And this basically applies to any clinical teacher. And again, the mean score is on a scale of 1 to 5, which is fully disagree and fully agree. And what are the domains in which the clinical teacher is evaluated? So modeling. For example, it says the teacher has consistently demonstrated how to perform clinical skills. The teacher created sufficient opportunities for me to observe him or her. and served as a role model as to the kind of doctor I would like to become, and so on. And so after modeling, then there was coaching, which is, it talks about gave useful feedback, adjusted the teaching activity to the level of experience, and offered sufficient opportunities to perform independently. And then there are a few more domains which talks about articulation, asked me to provide a rationale for my actions, and asked me questions to increase my understanding, and so on. And then exploration, encouraged me to formulate learning goals and pursue them. And also finally, a safe learning environment. The teacher created a safe learning environment, was genuinely interested in me as a student, and showed that she respected me. So this was on a scale of 1 to 5, and then you could also add remarks. So what we did in my program is that I made this into a Word document. And is that visible? Eduardo, is it visible?
No, it isn't.
The link
No.
it is, but the link is visible, but not the
No, the
Not the
program.
the actual
document.
form.
All right, never mind. So what we basically did was I put this into in a format and said, dear postgraduate fellow, please fill this questionnaire and drop it in the box. This is for improvement of your faculty and your teaching program. And I just took all these domains and stuck it into the paper, and then left a space for comments. And after the results came, what I did was, again, every single question, these are the names, the initials of the faculty, and their scores are here. And so 4 is a color, and 4.5, 4.3, 4, etc. And that was all put onto a graph. This, what we did with this was did not send it to everybody. I didn't want everybody to know by name where the other person was. So we sent it to the program director. And if an office is carrying it out, then it goes to a program director, and then to the chair of the department, and the faculty, obviously. And the faculty is then counseled about their strengths and weaknesses. The ones who are doing well are, sort of rewarded, and a note is put in their file. That's how we used it. And it was done annually once. Now, I'm going to talk finally about this faculty evaluation method from the University of Washington, which I found was the most comprehensive. So I have put the link here, along with the page that has got some very good reading material as well, everything from remediation of the struggling clinical educator and so on. Very good articles are there. So what does this faculty evaluation consist of? It basically talks about faculty teaching ability and supervision, about classroom simulation. They use something called the Michigan Global Rating Scale as the basic instrument. They also also rate the faculty on how good is the faculty at giving feedback, which means they have to rate the residents. What is the average number of days they take to complete the form? In other words, how invested they are in giving feedback. How commonly do they use instruments like OCEX, and what is the quality of the comments that they give in the feedback? The faculty is also evaluated on their engagement with the educational program itself. Do they take part in review and interview of applicants? Are they doing mentoring? Are they co-authoring papers with trainees, serving on various committees like curriculum committee? How many classes do they take, didactic lectures, and do they attend other sessions as well, even if they are not chairing them? And mandatory participation in faculty development, which means the faculty themselves, how good are they at pursuing in-person or online faculty session for development? And of course, clinical performance, which includes resident evaluation, peer evaluation, and 360-degree evaluations, and professionalism, which is somewhat reflected in the evaluation by the residents and the 360-degree evaluation, as well as to questions like how good are they dealing with diversity and gender and race and things like that. The faculty is also evaluated on scholarship, publications and presentations, PubMed ID, conference presentation, public grand rounds. Are they serving on editorial boards of journals? Do they have grants? Are they PI to graph and have written up grants? How about leadership roles? And finally, recognition. have they been recognized awards by professional organizations as an educator and excellence in teaching? All this is caught by the University of Washington faculty, evaluation program. It's a really comprehensive tool. And of course, you may wonder, how do we go about doing this? Faculty evaluations can actually be integrated with the resident management systems. So the RMS can collate the data to maintain anonymity. And ideally, this needs to be at least annual. So if you've invested in an RMS, the faculty evaluation can just be piggybacked onto that. So we come to a quiz here. And Eduardo, if we can have the quiz, the poll up. So the Maastricht questionnaire, which I showed you for a clinical teacher, includes all the following except, and the answer and the choices are modeling, coaching, networking, articulation, exploration.
So you see that Mina is now at the second level of the Kirkpatrick model. She's testing your, did you learn anything? So other than just, how'd you like it? Thank you, Mina.
Thanks. Are they vote?
I'll share the results.
All right.
There they are. Can you see them?
No, that's the same. It's just the question that we saw. It's not the answers.
Well, then I'll read them because they're not showing. The answer most choosing was modeling. Then networking and exploration.
Well, networking is the answer. Of course, I went through it rather quickly. And
that's a hard question.
Yeah, it's a hard question, and a lot of it are lots of it are new terminologies as well. But yeah, I think we'll be sharing a lot of the materials with you to look at as well, and to start implementing. I just thought I'll just put a slide out there to show what a resident management system looks like. This is just one example. I have no experience with it, but this one also has faculty evaluation in it. So finally, as we talked about program evaluation, what do you do with the evaluation? And as I told you, feedback to the department chair, program director, and to the faculty themselves. And those that seem to be lagging behind, faculty development, maybe not thrust upon them, suggested to them. And the ones who are really doing well, maybe they could have a rewarding system where the best teacher rewards. I think many programs have that. The best teacher award is given out every year at the resident's graduation day. So that may be one way of doing something about with the evaluation. In summary, faculty evaluation is an essential part of any residency program. The standard instruments are available. These need to be used periodically with a clear plan for further action with the results. Thank you.